up, night up, days at play. I woke up all today. I woke up, night up.
My nose is so stuffed. It's just gotta be COVID.
Well, your test came back negative for COVID, but your nasal cavities are clogged with Parmesan cheese.
I swear. I thought it was cocaine.
Good for you. Let's try Clear, Hunter.
It's clear?
Yes, it's made by Clear Inc., which is recognized as the leading manufacturer of xylitol-based products in North America. And this nasal spray is all natural.
All natural? What does that mean?
Well, that it's drug-free.
Drug-free? That sucks.
Parmesan is also drug-free. Just try the spray.
Wow! I can breathe.
Right. Breathing is important for a person.
Unless that person has dirt on you, right?
Wow. Let's just be glad that it worked.
I sure did. Thanks for showing me the clear way, Doc.
It's my pleasure.
Can you do one more favor for me?
Sure.
Hold on to this laptop for me.
No. No.
Deal. All right. How about a quick prescription of 200 Percocet?
Get out of my office.
All right. I got some good at home.
I told you to quit smoking Gouda.
Nope.
This is Guy Fieri, and he's rolling out.
Are you a trucker? You are not welcome at Buc-ee's. No trucks.
This is what I brought you, this you can keep. This is what I brought you, may forget me. I promise you my heart, just promise to sing. Kiss my eyes and lay me to sleep. Kiss my eyes and lay me to sleep.
Sorry to ask you here.
1, 2, 3. There you go.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out.
Yeah, of course.
That's called a hold on to your butt sip. Because today is a. Hold on a second, I'm going to get rid of this paper. I'm definitely going to be doing some note taking today. Look, I know this isn't the first place that you're tuning into today that's discussing gun violence and the tragedy that had taken place yesterday. Okay? That's not lost on me. And I know that if I say that I'm praying for the families and my heart absolutely breaks, and I think I speak on behalf of everyone in the studio that that's the case, that a good portion of you are going to comment that, oh, well, that's not enough, we need to do something. And of course, the atheists will comment, spaghetti monster, because they never miss an opportunity. So, look, let me lead with that. And let me lead with something here. I assume that everyone who's talking about this, outside of the politicians, and even then probably a good portion of them, cares. And wants what's better for this country, wants to limit violence. I don't want to get to just gun violence. I don't want to get to just mass shootings, because that's a very small subset of violence. And certainly a very small subset of violence as it relates to human nature throughout history. I think that most people want to cut down on violence. I think that most of you, whether you're left or right, want to cut down on our kids being killed. Okay, so let's start from that. That being said, let me ask you this. Here's my question of the day. Because you see people like Steve Kerr out there saying, do something, right? That's the do something. Do you think you make your best decisions when you're angry and emotional in the heat of the moment? Is this the right time to start removing people's fundamental rights or changing the very fabric of our Constitution? Do you think that's when you have the best judgment? I also want to today, look, let me lead with two things. We're going to get to the top 5 myths, the claims that are being made right now in the wake of the tragedy that had just taken place in Texas and has taken the life of, at the time of this filming, 19, if I'm not mistaken, is it 19 people now? Or is it 19 children and then plus 2 teachers? It
I believe
depends.
it's 19 plus 2.
19 plus 2.
Yes.
Dear God, I hope that does not include the shooter in there.
No, it does not.
They used to do that.
Yeah, they did.
So let me preface it with this. Guns, firearms, save far more lives. And by that, I mean many, many millions more lives each year in the United States than they take. Okay? That's a fact. And depending on the stat you use, 94 to 97, we'll take the low stat. 94% of mass shootings occur in gun-free zones. Marley was dead to begin with. Let's set the stage with that, and then we'll get into the tired, recycled claims that are being brought out right now, specifically as it relates to this shooting. And there are a handful that come from former Vice President Joe Biden and, of course, are being echoed on Twitter. But let's start with that. Do something, okay? 3 million defensive uses of firearms a year versus in the teens of thousands as far as homicides, depending on the year. Far more lives are saved by firearms in this country than are taken. That's an irrefutable fact. How? If it saves one life, if it saves millions of lives. 94% of mass shootings occur in gun-free zones. If it saves one life, okay, 94%. We need to if we're going to talk about doing something, we need to start with the highest percentage plays. Let's just all assume that we don't know we don't have causation here, but we have to look at the strongest correlations. Gun-free zones, fatherless households. Right, we can look at these. Then we go way, way, way down the list. Oh, wait, that there's a correlation that it's always an AR-15. It's not even close. It's not even close. So just afford everyone here the same assumption that we are affording you right now, that you care and that we care. And that being said, if we make if today's show is funny, then we're really, really good at our jobs. I don't know. That remains to be seen. Yeah, I'm mad, and I was mad yesterday. Think about it. I was just mad at Europe. I was mad at Europe in general. People are like, "What are you mad about today?" Remember, I walked in, I was like, "Europe." You're like, "What?
Why?
Why not?"
Do I need a reason?
And today, I'm angry that I'm more sad, honestly. But I get angry and frustrated with the people who think that they have the corner on being angry and frustrated. It's like being in a marriage with Amber Heard where only one person can have an emotion. No, everyone can feel something right now. That's okay. That's natural.
Yeah.
Or 2 people cannot have an emotion.
That's true. That's
Like
called
the Amber Heard marriage.
Yes.
Also
Well,
like that.
I think Johnny Depp started with emotion and then he was dead inside.
Right.
Where she just started
Where
with
she
none.
killed him. Because I like Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Her?
Yeah.
Oof.
Well, I don't know. I mean, look, once you poop in a bed, it's pretty hard to feel.
It's her
Unless
bed,
you're drunk.
too.
I've always said that's fine.
Yes. But even then, it's
very
not if you're a
forgivable.
woman, because women do not poop. So, my question is, what do you think we can do? And should we hold a bit before we make some decisions? That's a genuine question. Because everyone right now is yelling, do something, do something, do something. Great. I get it. You're angry. Then let's try and examine it a little bit more. Let's go a little further down the trail than I feel something. Got it. We can't only be a nation of feelings. That's how you end up with 6-year-olds cutting off their penis and then declaring a mental health crisis as it relates to firearms in this country. Well, you know what? Hold on a second. Maybe putting someone on puberty blockers and cutting off their penis when they're 6 might actually not be most beneficial to people's mental health. We'll get to that too. Hey, Gerald A. is here. How are you, sir?
I'm okay. It's heavy, but look, you can either laugh or you can cry, and I choose to laugh a little bit and get some of the stuff out. But I think we're going to have some fiery conversations when we get there.
If you cry, you're fired.
I won't cry on air. I just mean in general, when you have a lot of emotion, you can laugh or you can cry. I mean, there's other things you can do, but I choose those two.
You can poop in a bed. And we also have, you know him, you love him, the quickest man on his feet. And when I said people are like, oh, you mean in the studio? No, I mean ever. And he is on tour with me, loudwithcrowder.com/tour, and he's doing his own show here May 29th, an important show, Gaylord, Michigan. It's Fuel Fest. All the proceeds are going to those affected by the tornado.
That's correct, yes. And yeah, Friday and Saturday we'll be in Emily, Minnesota, doing Big L's, and then we're going to do this on Sunday, help raise some money for the people affected by the tornado. And I did cry a little, but I sat on a pencil.
Oh, there you go.
Well, that's okay then.
If Dave
on
doesn't like
purpose.
it, he can sit on a pencil. Ow, sit on a pencil.
The tack.
Yeah, that seems a little bit, it seems like it's not really severe enough when they're talking about Satan. If the devil doesn't like it, he can sit on a tack. Hold on a second. You're talking about torture, rape, enslavement, all the evil of humanity. You go sit on a tack, you big jerk.
You know how that doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like,
Oh, no.
Not again.
Meanwhile, he's making another guy sit on a throne of butcher knives. He's like, you sit on a tack. Oh, okay.
jamming a pineapple in someone.
Yeah.
Jeez. Also voluntarily.
Yes.
Yes,
And you know
Epstein.
what? We have evil at play right now. I think that's what we need to acknowledge. There is
Yes.
evil in this world. It will always be amongst you. And you know what? I think that our public schools are a breeding ground for evil. I'll say that. I really do. Mm-hmm. I really do. When you look at you can't just silo everything. When you look at the conversations, when you look at trying to uninvolve and detach the parents from these children's lives, when you're looking at transitioning children, when you're looking at browbeating young white boys for something they've never done, look, I think that it's a breeding ground for evil. Okay? I think it's long before you get to the point of a bunch of policies that won't work on an inanimate object. Let's understand human nature, and that's if you're a conservative or a liberal. Dennis Prager talks about that. Do you believe that human beings are all inherently good or all inherently evil? Let's remove the term evil because some of you agnostics are uncomfortable with it. Okay, selfish. All that's required for someone to be a sociopath or a narcissist is just to only think of themselves, is to be selfish. We often think that they have to go out and they're pulling wings off dragonflies. No. You just have to be selfish. That's how it starts.
Well, I believe it was the 50s when there was a lot more God-fearing than there is now, that they asked a group of people if they would hurt another person to save themselves. And it was like 65% of them said yes. So think about what that number's probably raised to today.
It's like 100.
Yeah, it's got to be, what, 99.9?
Would you hurt
Certainly
another
in this
person?
studio.
Yes, they answer too quickly. No. It's just save I don't care. I would hurt the other person.
You know this poll is public, sir.
Yes.
I don't care.
We have video of you.
Can you tell my neighbor that I said this? Maybe he'll start trimming his hedges.
His name's John.
Yeah.
You keep stealing my packages.
Keep waxing your boat, but not cutting your lawn, John.
Yeah, and stop screwing with my mail. It's a federal offense. All right. So before we get to that, a little bit of levity here, and we're going to try and keep levity, but we're going to do, I know a lot of you said that you liked the claim fact format, which we're going to do today because it's sorely needed.
Yes.
And all references are available at loudwithcarter.com. So child abuse, I don't know if you know this, is it's very hot right now.
Ugh.
Yeah. I said levity.
I know.
Both mental and physical, especially among the trans lobby. Here's a trans dad. I should probably warn you. If you have kids, it's not like there's anything really vulgar, but they're not going to want to see this. It's a trans dad who's now crowdfunding to help in perpetrating child abuse. Here we go.
I'm raising money to help fund my son's transition-related costs. Basically, we already have a diagnosis of gender dysphoria for him.
You're a stupid
We have
dumbass.
gotten his blood work done, and we need to start him on puberty blockers as soon as possible.
Yes, it's an emergency. That boy has
close to
testosterone in his body.
$2,000. I have already exhausted most
Your
of my
heart?
funds. I
Good.
need help.
Good.
I want to
What'd you
raise
spend
money
that
to
money
help
on?
cover his
Hair dye.
transition-related costs, as
Nose piercings.
it's very difficult to come out
Body
with that sort of money on short notice.
Good.
I know that I'm asking a lot, but I would do anything to make sure
Whoa.
that he is able to continue his transition seamlessly.
It's very hard to come up with that amount of money. First off, there's a problem. Why can't you come up with money on short notice? Why short notice for a child's transition? See what they do? They need access to necessary medical care. A fake vagina is necessary. I don't know. This is the problem when everything is a human right, except for actual human rights, like the right to self-defense. I need the money. I need it now. This isn't a J.G. Wentworth commercial.
Well, how about the fact that it's gender dysphoria, which you're trying to say isn't a thing?
Yeah.
That was the whole narrative before. Now you're saying it is a thing. Okay. So you can treat this if you think that it's a problem.
Right.
Your choice is to treat it with puberty blockers and cutting off his penis.
Yes.
Well, don't forget getting breasts. He wants breasts.
Oh,
too,
I'm
Dave.
sorry. Right.
Yeah.
I thought it was
breasts.
silly for a moment.
Yes. For a moment, I was worried.
Yes. No, that may. Look at that guy. That is
Z.
That's a man.
Is it?
Is it?
Well, no, it's supposed to be.
I don't know. I'm honestly saying I really don't know.
Yeah, I don't want to get banned
Who's
right off the
sending
bat.
money to that?
I think it's a trans.
Do we know what the
okay.
the GoFund is? It GoFundMe that he was using?
Well,
Do
he
we know what
wants
it's
to
up
be a
the
man.
crowdfunding.
Yeah.
He's a
I would
man.
love to
I don't-
see how much they've raised.
Was it GoFundMe that removed the Canadian truckers?
It was,
But
yeah.
that abomination.
Totally fine.
Should we plug Rumble?
Oh yeah. By the way, it's a good call. If we could ever get removed here on YouTube, and if we don't, by the way, we have no show on Memorial Day. Just to let you know, on Monday, of course, it's a federal holiday, and
Honoring
we
the
honor
troops.
the troops, people who fall. People who've actually been through trauma
Yes.
that's real. Not my son needs puberty blockers now.
And breasts.
And the very brave small soldiers that were put on puberty blockers.
Yes. Well, they fought the Gorgonauts. That was a very mediocre film, but
Nice.
I still liked it.
I like it.
It's like Neverland.
Right. Yeah.
But, it's my genitals.
Yes, exactly. It's the freak show in the cupboard. Now,
The ghost of penis is past.
Rumble. You can go to Rumble or or you can go to loudwithcrowder.com/mugclub Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. 10 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Thursday. If ever we get removed from YouTube, if we don't tell you that there is no show, it means there is a show. You can just tune in live there. No show Monday. Consider yourself warned. I don't want to hear you complaining, where is the show?
Go to the beach or the pool and enjoy yourselves.
Yes.
Leave us alone.
Careful, not everyone is pool privileged. Let's just think about that for a second. Then we're going to have a discussion about mental health in this country. When people say,
Yes,
I think we can find common ground. Okay, common ground. We're discussing mental health. Hey, let me ask you something really quickly before we move on to this, because the rest of the show is going to be debunking these gun myths that are going. So it's a pretty thorough show, just to let you know. So I want to hit this off the top, the rest of this. A trans person in the United States, more at risk being the victim of a mass shooting or suicide? One's a 42% attempted rate, both pre and post-op. And the other is, single-digit percentage of 1 percentage point. The mental health crisis, okay? American slaves. Jews in the Holocaust didn't have that kind of an attempted suicide rate. You want us to believe that it's because they can't take a dump in their preferred bathroom of choice at a Walmart? I don't buy it. Just me.
Well, Man's Search for Meaning is a great book, and it's about a guy. I mean, it's a true story of somebody who lived through the Hollywood, kind of the same Holocaust.
Yeah.
And had what a Freudian slip.
Yeah.
Lived through
Hollywood is the 9/11 of entertainment.
Yeah. But kept a certain positive attitude, and that's I can't even imagine how difficult that is.
Yeah.
But with this particular kid, and you're talking about mental health, okay, let's look at. Just to say real quick, the shooter, and not saying that you have to have any empathy or whatever, but you're looking at a kid with abandonment issues who lived with his grandma, killed his grandma. You have all these things going on.
Shot her.
In this
I think
kid's
she's
head.
still alive.
Okay, I'm sorry, shot her.
Is she still alive?
I think the last I heard, she was still
Good, that's a tough old bird.
Okay, I didn't mean to.
You're fine. Sorry.
Sorry, YouTube, for any misinformation, you pieces of shit. So we've acknowledged it. So you have you have this kid, and then you have 2.5 years of hiding faces, locking people inside, making them feel worthless, collapsing the world, collapsing the economy, making it difficult, not giving anybody the proper access to the treatment they need, worrying more about doing surgery that is completely unnecessary on people that do need help, and you wonder why this kind of thing happens, and we're going to go ahead and blame guns.
Right.
It's insane to me that we're getting to this point. And I speak honestly from my heart as somebody who deals with mental illness.
Right.
It is
myself too, I've talked.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. It's tragic.
Yeah. And you know what else? Think about, people use the term canceling. What is canceling really? Well, when you look at people like Abraham Lincoln, when you look at people like Winston Churchill, when you even look at people like Ricky Gervais or Dave Chappelle, it's about taking the one aspect that you don't like of somebody, the worst aspect, and defining them that way.
Yes.
Winston Churchill, flawed, sure, drank a lot, cheated on his wife.
Hilarious.
Also the man who stood between Hitler and the rest of the free world. Shouldn't he be recognized a little bit more for that? And you don't think that, and then you demand that we not be judgmental. What kind of mental health issues do you think that's going to create for young men?
Yeah.
You're trapping them. They feel trapped. They can do no right. They have no out.
You're told they're not needed.
Right. Well, they're told that they're actually a burden on society, a lot of them.
Yeah.
Plus, if you're wearing the mask, how are you going to show everyone your Hot Topic mascara and lipstick?
Oh, jeez.
True. And it looks good on you.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm not here, you would not recognize me. I just look like I'm the lead singer from Under Oath back in 2004. So let's look at some of the reactions here to this shooting. And this happened in Texas. How do you pronounce the city correctly?
Uvalde.
What?
Is it Uvalde?
Is it Uvalde? I've heard also people say Uvalde.
I don't think it's Uvalde.
I don't think it's Uvalde either. I thought it was
But I
Uvalde.
don't know.
I just wanted you to be on the hook for it.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, it wasn't. I'm not sure. Is it closer to Houston?
No, it's near the
Or San Antonio, right?
Yeah, closer
San
to the border.
Antonio, yeah.
Closer to the border. While we talk about guns, that's a good point. Yeah, closer to the border while we talk about guns. And wouldn't have a problem with that with open borders. No gun running.
No.
Nary a gun runner to be found.
No. What was that program where they ran guns? Yeah, I remember the. I can't remember the name of the program.
Fast and the Furious.
Fast and Furious. There we go.
Oh, I was thinking Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
a show.
Actually, there are a lot of them.
Yeah, Fast and Furious seems spot on to how it really works.
Wait a minute, Fast and Furious is also something.
Yeah.
Because you can fit a lot of
Terrible
illegal
movies.
unmarked rifles in the back of a Honda Civic with nitro.
Yeah.
You can. They're just street racing.
Listen, you can grappling hook a truck.
Yeah.
That's how they do it.
Yeah.
This is Brazil.
Well, you can if you're ludicrous.
Yes, that's true.
First name ludicrous, last name ludicrous.
Yeah, not that guy, just the actual term.
Right.
Ludicrous.
Hey, you know what? I want to go to Chris Murphy before we go to Steve Kerr of the Golden State Warriors. So, how do you know that there's political grandstanding going on? Like I said, I believe that you care, we care. Not necessarily all of the politicians. They see this as an opportunity, unfortunately. And then that'll bring us to Steve Kerr because he doesn't understand how a constitutional republic works. But here is Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy saying something and very clearly not meaning it. How do I know? Because he says he's going to literally do something and then doesn't do it.
But I'm here on this floor to beg, to literally get down on my hands and knees and beg my colleagues.
Turns out he only was on his knees in the green room.
Yes.
He saw it kind of like he was gonna go.
He was going to go and he's like, I don't want people to have that picture of me.
Yeah.
That's going to be Photoshop City. So then he just stayed standing.
Yeah, it's how do you have to beg? Usually you don't even have to ask.
Yeah. Usually you just have to say yes. I am literally on my hands and knees to beg. And he went on saying, we can find some kind of common ground. This is what they always, okay, common ground. All right. Like what? Background checks. It's already a thing.
Yeah.
Hey, wait, hold on a second. We find common ground. You say necessary medical care is chopping off the penises of boys. Where's the common ground at that point? We are so far beyond common ground. We need to course correct. When people say, oh, we've divided more. No. Democrats have gone left and Republicans have gone left. And then maybe some less left. But we need to course correct and understand in our country what the Constitution means, and if it means anything at all. Because you do have one party in this country that wishes we were like all of the other countries, and we'll get to that in a second, that don't have the Constitution we have. It is a different country by design, for a reason. So he says that. That's how you know it's grandstanding. He says, I'm going to get on my hands and knees. Do it.
Go ahead.
I wasn't actually going to get on my hands and my knees, but you said you were literally were. I meant figuratively, but you said literally. I meant literally figuratively. You're a dick.
Yep. Well, it's like you said, it's just grandstanding. How long are we going to be held captive to our politicians?
Right.
How long until we actually change something and do something?
Voluntarily captive. We are imprisoning ourselves right now.
We're listening to the stupidest people ever, and they're running our country.
Yeah, it is pretty apparent when you watch
money.
AOC. You're like, this is a really dumb person.
Yeah, please tell us your thoughts on gun control, you moron.
Yes. Well,
you googly-eyed idiot.
I wrote a
I
bill.
That's not a hard argument to make.
No, that's
I'm
how.
Just mad.
You're just reading the police description.
Yeah.
Crazy lady with eyes that are googly. I repeat, googly.
We need a sketch artist.
I'm surprised she doesn't come out of a clock every time she talks.
Yeah, exactly. You read a police report, you're like, are you describing someone from Sesame Street?
Yeah.
That's a congresswoman?
Her eyes go both ways?
That's not possible, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Oh,
yeah. They just turn around a picture like Snuffleupagus? No, it's AOC. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And her
Cookie Monster?
catchphase is my boyfriend's feet?
Yeah.
Oh,
weird.
Not really a catchphrase, just something she sort of laments repeatedly. And now let's go to the Golden State Warrior coach, Steve Kerr. Everyone's talking about this. It's gone viral and because it's impassioned. Great. But passion in the absence of information or education is of no value. Yeah. So let's watch.
When are we going to do something? I'm tired. I'm so tired of getting up here and offering condolences to the devastated families that are out there. I'm so tired of I'm tired of the moments of silence. Enough. There's 50 senators right now who refuse to vote on H.R. 8, which is a background check rule that the House passed a couple of years ago. It's been sitting there for 2 years.
Background check's already a thing.
And there's a reason they won't vote on it, to hold on to power.
How does that work?
I ask you, Mitch McConnell, I ask all of you senators who refuse to do anything about the violence and school shootings and supermarket shootings, I ask you, are you going to put your own desire for power ahead of the lives of our children and our elderly and our churchgoers? Because that's what it looks like.
Your own desire for power. Okay, let's examine that a little bit here. This is also the same person where you have a lot of people made this argument. 90% of Americans support background checks. Well, of course, so do I. They already exist. You say giving up your own power. Yeah, I want to I want to get more of a grip on. I want more power, so you should all own guns, said no dictator ever, just to be clear. And hey, if you're talking about power, it's a constitutional republic. It's a representative republic. The only way they would maintain power is people voting for them. The easiest way to get a grip on power is be like a Joe Biden who's never held the same view twice on an issue. So how is someone like a Ted Cruz, based on your premise, how is someone like a Rand Paul making a decision to protect the Constitution just to try and maintain their grasp on power when you say that it's an incredibly unpopular viewpoint and they have to be elected? None of it adds up.
Yeah. Well, and Steve Kerr is universally seen as a good guy.
Not by
There's
me.
so many people out there right now who see Steve Kerr and go, oh, it's a good guy making art. He's uninformed, guys. This is the problem. You get angry, you get frustrated, and of course, everybody wants this to stop, but you don't have the information. All you have is the left, once again, virtue signaling and saying common sense gun reform, background checks. Every single, how many times do we have to debunk this? How many videos do you have to make where you go and improve to people that you can't get a gun at a gun show without
do you know why?
background check from a dealer?
I have to do it again because
How many times?
If you search top AR-15 myths, even though we have videos that have many, I think over 10 million plays, 15 million plays, it won't show up. You'll see something from PBS talking about how dangerous AR-15s are. So we have to continually go through these points because the left is allowed to recycle their points and everything they say.
Unchallenged,
the top of the search engine. And we have to repeat it because you can search for something we put a lot of work into. All references available on Loud Earth Credit. We make the references available in the description. And you won't find it. That's fine.
What team does he coach?
The Golden State Warriors.
Oh, I see. So, do you mean the league that stood behind a group that burnt down cities and illegally bought guns?
Well, that's ancillary to the point.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Because that could have started with them. Like maybe he could have not supported violence.
I do see your point.
Okay.
I don't know if that's entirely valid, but I see your point.
Okay.
I'm also curious. He referenced the shooting in
You
New
mean
York.
entirely valid, right?
Yeah,
But yeah, I misspoke.
Okay.
the state with some of the most strict gun laws in the country. New York, right? That's the state that he referenced as well. And also he referenced a church, Asian churchgoers in California, a state with very strict gun laws.
Yeah.
These gun laws that you think we should all live under that have obviously not done anything to help the problem.
Because, again, far more lives are saved by firearms in the United States than are taken. 94% of mass shootings occur in gun-free zones. And decreasing gun ownership, increasing strict gun laws in states does not lead to decreased crime. These are facts. These are facts that you need to start with, and then we can get into some specific claims. Let me give you, for those who don't know, I mean, I'm sure you've seen this ad nauseum, but what we know at this point, shooter, 18-year-old Hispanic male, 22, is it 22 victims now?
It's 22 now.
It was 21 when I wrote it here this morning, so 22 victims. He had a rifle and a handgun. He was wearing some kind of, not a Kevlar vest, but some kind of body armor, plate carrier, open fire, of course, at Robb Elementary School, Uvalde, Texas. And it is important to note that he was stopped by one single Border Patrol agent who'd been working nearby. This is from ABC News. When shooting began, he, meaning the Border Patrol agent, rushed into school without waiting for backup and shot and killed the gunman. Hey, here's another thing.
Hero.
Yeah, absolutely a hero.
But on his own. He was actually, I think, wounded in the process and was able to get out of the building.
Here's another question. How has every single mass shooting that was stopped, meaning one that didn't just continue until the perpetrator got away or tired, how is every single one of them? What's a 100%, maybe let's call it 99 constant? Stopped by what? What? Guy with a gun. So when you say a good guy with a gun, that old West cowboy myth, well, hold on a second. What about, the police? Okay. What did the police show up with? Sticky hands, praying mantis style? No, the guy showed up with a gun. Now, let me just back that up a little bit, because there are solutions being offered on both sides. And of course, the left, claiming that they want to find common ground, is dismissing those on the right. That's just crazy. That's asinine. Okay, so you know that all of these mass shootings, right? All of these people, all these criminals, these homicidal maniacs, when they commit these crimes, the only way to stop them is by someone who has equal or greater force, someone else with a gun. You call on them, the police. But you've heard an ounce of prevention is worth 1,000 pounds of defense or cure, depending on which, in sports we'll say an ounce of prevention is worth 10,000 tons of defense in wrestling. Look, you're saying after the fact, call the guy with a gun. When we say, hey, instead of after the fact, how about having someone with a gun there beforehand? What? Can you believe that Republicans are suggesting that there should be armed police or that teachers should be allowed to? You're calling a guy with a gun after the fact. That's your only solution.
All I'm saying is maybe we should protect our children or afford them the same protection as Congress gets.
Yep.
That's it. Or a famous person who wants to go out in public and gets recognized. That's all I'm asking for. And most of those people, by the way, like LeBron James, will come out and say, oh, we have to do something. LeBron, are you offering your security team to go to the nearest elementary school and make sure kids are safe?
No, he's too busy faking that he's reading the Malcolm X biography.
Or are you calling out a police officer for saving somebody's life?
Point.
Yeah.
In Ohio, if I remember correctly. And by the way, I just want to clarify: 19 children dead, 2 teachers dead. If you throw in the grandmother being shot as a victim as well, that's the 22 number right
So
now.
the grandmother did die.
I don't know that she's dead. I'm just saying she's shot, so she's part of that list.
All right. So right now they're
Just want
saying
to be clear.
legally purchased 2 rifles. We don't know at this point if they can confirm that he had that other rifle. We know that he had a rifle and a handgun at the scene. At this moment right now. If you're watching this a day or 2 later, we're not wrong. This is the information we have now. We're very, very careful to not go beyond the information that we have, unlike CNN.
But he also had a handgun.
It's okay. They'll use it to divide us even further. That's what it'll be about. Let's turn it into race. Let's turn it into sex. Let's turn it into everything else except for what the actual thing is. Anybody who has a child going to school, they even had, a dad from Parkland, but anybody with a child going to school.
Yeah.
You're going to tell me that you wouldn't feel safer knowing that there was a guard, even he doesn't have to wear a uniform, just somebody that is there? You're going to tell me that wouldn't at least deter the kid? What are you supposed to do when a gunman comes into a school? Have you ever been so mad you're seeing red and nobody can reason with you? Now imagine if your psyche is completely broken.
Right.
What's the other option? You're going to go, this is now when you're going to talk to him?
Right.
Yeah, no,
This
Dave,
is now time for the mental health evaluation?
Yeah, I'm supposed to feel better as a father because they passed universal background checks and H.R. 8 made it through Congress.
Right.
That's what's supposed to make me sleep better.
Even though it's already a thing. By the way, we had a cops at our school in Canada.
Yeah.
One of them, I remember, it turned out he was selling drugs to the kids.
Yeah, I bought drugs off of...
It was a captive audience.
I remember exactly who it was.
We had parking lot attendants.
Yeah.
3 of them.
Yeah.
Well, I bought drugs off of one. He was like 60. He had a lot of racial slurs on him. Yeah. Tattooed on him. But
weird.
They did not.
Those are called sailor tattoos.
Yeah, he must have wore sleeves to the interview. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But you had 3 people, and I think back to that. I go, you were guarding the parking lot from kids getting out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody was guarding the kids.
I know. No, we had people who would circulate in the school at lunch hour, so that we would have officers, and I never felt uncomfortable. Keep in mind, Steve Kerr protested, having armed officers in Oakland.
Yeah, he did.
What?
Defund the police? Wasn't that a movement?
Something like that.
I mean, I think I remember that. By the way, this guy was in the building for half an hour, 30 minutes until he was taken out. 30 minutes. And by the way, on CNN right now, look at that car. That's not an abandoned car. That is, I wrecked my car and jumped it into the ditch. Okay, the tires are splayed out. Right, everything. This was not something that could not have been prevented from the very beginning.
Right. It's not like one of those things where they say, I don't know, he was an A student. He was really quiet. It's like, no. This is a guy who wore eyeliner, who said "kids be scared" on his social media, and who crashed his car and loitered around for 30 minutes, probably yelling insanely, like, "Oh, we wish we could have known."
Well, no, they said he was. I mean, he was in the building for half an hour. During this shooting process, but they're like, oh, he abandoned his car. I'm like, I thought he parked on the grass.
Yeah.
No, he didn't. He tried to run his truck.
Yeah, when I first read it, I thought like maybe he slipped in the expectant mother spot. I didn't know that.
No.
He was rolled over in a ditch.
You're telling me somebody in the administrator's office, which is typically, if you've never been to an elementary school, I just want to let you know how this works. You walk into a set of doors. There's another set of doors that goes into the school. To the right is a door to the administrator's office. Around that side goes a door into the rest of the school.
They're listening to the doors.
You have to go through to get in there. You have to go in administration, check in, tell them who you are, show an ID, then you get into the school. You're telling me somebody can't be armed in that administrator's office? There's not just one person there. There's secretaries there. There's probably 10 or 15 people. One of them can't be concealed carry at the point of entry?
No, you don't understand. We need more useless employees, i.e. the real heroes, and not people who could actually stop a shooting.
Unbelievable. Sorry.
Let me, and then we'll go into the debunking of 5 claims that are being made right now that you are most likely to hear if you're on Twitter, if you're on Facebook, or if you're listening to or watching any legacy media. Let me, again, set the stage. Far more lives are saved by firearms in this country. 1.67 million uses of firearms in defensive situations last year. Contrast that with the CDC data in 2020, 19,000 gun homicides. Okay? Not even close. Many years at 3 million defensive uses of firearms.
Yeah.
94% of mass shootings take place in gun-free zones. Okay? References available at louderwithcrowder.com. Texas law in general, doesn't allow firearms on school grounds, certainly not elementary schools.
And
so let's
even
just be
close
clear.
to them.
Right.
I think it's like within 300 feet, and there's another rule within 1,000 feet.
Yeah.
So we have laws in place. He broke all of them, guys.
So here, let's go through the claims
The
that are
signs
being...
need to be bigger.
Yes,
I
they
think
do need to be
that's the
bigger
issue.
signs.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. I think the solution is we need less secretaries.
Yeah.
What do? You can be replaced by Alexa.
Apparently, they're sure of their jobs they can't hit a 911 button.
Right, I know. Yeah, well, they forget the number.
Yep.
Now, here is, and this comes straight from the former Vice President Horse's mouth, gave a speech yesterday, and he immediately pivoted to gun control, which has eluded him his career. So the first claim that they're making is that this shooting is the fault of the gun lobby.
So many crushed spirits. So tonight, I ask the nation to pray for them.
Oh, eat shit.
Give the parents and siblings the strength in the darkness they feel right now.
Pardon my language today.
As a nation, we have to ask, when in God's name are we going to stand up to the gun lobby? When in God's name we do what we all know in our gut needs to be done?
No, you know in your gut that the most important thing for a child is to affirm the gender they want to be. He gave that speech. So let's be really clear here. That's the claim. Here's the truth, okay? First off, no one from the gun lobby killed anyone yesterday. Okay, let's be clear. Let's also hold the person who pulled the trigger accountable. And the gun lobby is far less influential than people want to make them out to be. Less influential than unions, for example. Less influential than telecom companies. But certainly, some companies I think are of note. In 2021, gun rights lobbyists spent a total of $15.8 million. Okay, compare that to pharmaceuticals. $356 million. Electronics, $179 million. Insurance, $153 million. It's not even close. $15.8 million to $356 million from pharmaceutical companies. Hey, but by the way, have pharmaceutical companies killed any kids?
I don't know. The reports are redacted, and they need 50 years to let us know.
Yeah, it's buried somewhere in those
Sorry.
80,000 pages.
It takes
One
time.
day we'll know.
By the
Well,
way,
we won't know. We'll be dead by the time it comes out. But
Probably because
our
we
kids might
took
know.
all the pharmaceuticals.
Yeah,
Yes.
but by the way, does the NRA do anything other than promote responsible gun ownership?
They spend money on boats and planes. I'm not a big fan of the NRA,
Well,
but yes.
I'm not. No, I'm not.
No, but I know what you're
praises.
saying.
I'm just saying, like, if you're going to hold their feet to the fire and look at, responsible gun ownership. Yeah, you know, the people that have concealed carry, we even went over this, are less likely to commit a crime than a police officer.
Yep.
Right?
It's not even
We've
close.
Gone through those statistics. So you can hate the NRA. Fine. Maybe you don't like the organization. I get it. This kid wasn't an NRA member following the playbook.
Right.
Okay? He didn't read in the NRA, go shoot up a school.
He wasn't a
not what
regular at the Charlton Heston fan club. So again, it's just lazy. We're just starting this off because this is how lazy the left is. It's whip you up emotionally, and then here's a target, the gun lobby.
Yeah.
Okay.
And do me a favor, don't invoke God's name the week after coming out on abortion and saying, yes, this should be the law of the land for everybody. I know we're not tying these two issues together, but please don't tell me what God wants in this situation when you have no clue, obviously, and should be denied communion. If you're a Catholic Nancy Pelosi, that was the right decision. Sorry.
Yes, it was.
Not according to Pope Whoopi.
Well, Pope Whoopi, you're right. That's fair.
The point to communion is I'm hungry, child.
More page flipping.
I
please.
used to be a nun. That was a movie. I don't remember. I get confused from diabetes.
I walk with a cane.
I got the sugar brain.
Yeah. They told me I had to lose weight. I was still going to be diabetic. I said, how much a foot weigh?
My purple toes are bleeding.
So let's get to another claim that they make. Here's the second claim that is really common right now, and you're hearing this everywhere. Okay, and you're hearing it from from former Vice President Biden. Donald Trump was far more accurate when these events happened. By the way, what happened to Trump's America every time there was a shooting? Is it Biden's America? I just want to make sure that I understand because we have far more crime overall, which is what I'm more concerned with, violent crime, not just the tool.
And the whole war thing.
Yeah, the whole war thing, the whole $40 billion to Ukraine. But okay, so the claim is we're the only country, and you hear this a lot, we're the only country where this kind of thing happens.
I just got off a trip from Asia, meeting with Asian leaders.
Thank you for.
And I learned of this while I was on the aircraft.
Oh, good.
And what struck me
Surprised he didn't say Oriental.
on that 17-hour flight, what struck me was these kinds of mass shootings rarely happen anywhere else in the world.
Wrong.
Why? They have mental health problems. They have domestic disputes in other countries. They have people who are lost. But these kinds of mass shootings never happen with the kind of frequency they happen in America. Why?
Okay, so first off, there's a sleight of hand that's taking place there, and I want to sort of go through a couple of points. But here's the truth, okay? We are not the country, first off, with the most violent crime or the most amount of murders or homicides. It's not even close when you look at it per capita. So if you look at it from 2018, you have El Salvador, you have Jamaica, you have Honduras. Where does America land on the list? We're like 83rd. Okay, less than 5 homicides per 100,000. Compare that to number 1, El Salvador, 52.
So he was only 83 off.
Yes. Well, this is important. I'm going through the violent crime rate and the homicide rate. Now, the left wants it both ways, where they say, well, you can't compare us to El Salvador or Honduras. Why not? Well, because those countries are shitholes? Do you mean to say they're third world, so it's not fair to compare it? Well, good thing is we have another statistic here. We're not even the country with the most mass shootings per capita, even among the first world countries, which I guess is the term that we would have to use now. If you look at the death rates per million from 2009 to 2015, you have Norway, you have Serbia, you have Macedonia. The United States is 11th. But here's the thing. Let's even assume that there is an outlier trend of mass shootings in the United States. Okay? It's not. Reference is available at louderwithcrowder.com. I'm still more concerned with the violent crime rate and the homicide rate. And it's not even close. So this is why they want to focus on the tool. And this is why you get a lot of people who they'll accuse you of being conspiratorial because you see rising violent crime. Right now, why is there rising violent crime? Like Dave just pointed out earlier, because they encourage the rioting. You had Kamala Harris saying, don't stop the rioting. And so what does that necessitate? Well, there's an increase in firearm purchases. Yeah. So there's a rise in crime through liberal rhetoric, through leftist policy. And they say, look at the rise in crime. We need to what? Remove more of your rights.
And I legally purchased a firearm after that happened.
Yep.
I was never big into them in my entire life. I was never really comfortable with them. That's just my own personal opinion. Once that started happening, I learned how to shoot. I learned how to shoot from a Marine. And it's something that I feel like you have to have now. And it's a result of their politics.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and I remember after, I'm trying to think of the city name. For some reason, it's eluding me. But the Hands Up, Don't Shoot. Right?
Ferguson,
right? Yeah. So all of those leaders that came out and said, black people, the cops are out to kill you, out to kill you, out to kill you. A police officer that went to my church was among those that was shot and killed at a protest right after that.
You mean in Dallas?
In Dallas.
Yeah.
It was mostly peaceful, though, right?
It was
mostly peaceful, other than the guy shooting police officers and killing them. And I just don't understand where he probably got the idea that police officers were after them.
Yeah.
Every single time they go out and do stuff like this, and they're like, well, it's not our fault. Police are actually out to kill black people, when that's not absolutely
What's the solution?
True.
You should be able to sue Smith & Wesson.
Yeah.
That's actually a solution from the left, just to be clear, to sue not only gun manufacturers, but mom and pop gun shop owners. Okay. So their claim is this is the only country where that happens. That's not true. Right? So we've gone through here. Okay. First claim is the fault of the gun lobby. All right. Now you know the truth. This is the only place where that happens. That's not true. Here's another claim right now. The third claim that you're going to hear a lot. You're going to see it on Twitter. You're going to see it everywhere. And you heard the president reiterate this, the former vice president. I apologize. Admonish me. Admonish me.
Please.
I need to respect the office. I need to respect the office. Former vice president. So the claim is that their common sense gun control would have somehow prevented or had any effect on this shooting.
I am sick and tired of it. We have to act. And don't tell me we can't have an impact on this carnage. I spent my career as a senator and a vice president.
Your life.
Working to pass common sense gun laws. We can and won't prevent every tragedy, but we know they work and have positive impact.
No, that's wrong. Now, something that you see a lot on Twitter everywhere that they tie to this is universal background checks. You just heard that from Steve Kerr. We need background checks. Background checks are already a thing.
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
I had a background check for several days.
Yeah. If you want to debunk the myth of the idea that there are no background checks, look, just go buy a firearm with any family member or friend. And then you can just say, oh, I don't want to buy it. Just have them get to the paperwork phase. Right away they go, oh, I'm being lied to. That's why you increase firearm ownership in this country. And guess what? It becomes really, really hard for politicians to lie. They say, oh, no background checks. And everyone at home is going, that's bullshit. I just did a background check. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's that much of a disconnect from reality. Texas already requires background checks. Customers, let me read it exactly. Customers at licensed dealers, it's the truth, I should have said.
Yeah.
Licensed gun dealers in the state of Texas are required to pass an FBI background check. And by the way, the shooter purchased his firearm that way through a background check. Some shooters don't. A lot of them do. Pass a background check anyway, just to be clear. Yeah. It already exists. So when someone says, we need to do something, we have a bill that just demands background checks. You go, hold on a second, we already have background checks. What else is in that bill?
Yeah.
That's the follow-up question. But you can only ask it if you have a baseline of knowledge. They don't want you to have that.
No. And do me a favor and show me what shooting would have been stopped by a background check. I mean, maybe there's a handful, maybe there's a couple, but you're saying there's been 200 plus mass shootings this year so far. How many of those are stopped by your end-all be-all solution?
And that's, by the way, that's assuming this is predicated on the idea that the criminals who are willing to commit mass murder would obey the laws of a background check. So even assuming that, the numbers still don't hold up. And by the way, this was such a pervasive myth that after we did a Change My Mind on a campus, I took 2 girls to a firing range and then went through the process to purchase a firearm with them because these girls were anti-gun and they had never actually learned anything about firearms. And they were shocked to find out they had to fill out paperwork and pass a background check. We did this as an entire 30-minute video.
How about we just go through the background check?
Okay, let's go through. Okay, so let's do it as though you're going to get that.
Yeah.
But let's do the background check. Pretty thorough questionnaire there, huh?
Yeah.
Did that surprise you?
Yeah, I didn't think there was all that.
Yeah. And he's putting it through the database right now, so the FBI will let us know if you've lied about any of those questions. They lied about all of them. Now, I don't know if you can hear. I was at death's door.
You sound like
I had a sinus infection, a bronchial infection, and walking pneumonia. And I was like, oh my God, I got to go to a gun range today.
You asked them to shoot you, and they wouldn't.
They wouldn't, no.
Please have mercy. Can't you hear me?
And in their common sense gun laws, they want, if you look at the things they want, again, the bill is not about a background check. Again, Texas already has gun-free zones with schools. Well, didn't protect the victims. He didn't go, oh my God, there's a sign there. I better stop.
Right.
Well, look at the money that goes to other countries. We put $40 billion to Ukraine.
Yeah.
There's 98,700-ish. Let's round it up to 90. Let's just call it 99,000 public schools in America. We take the $40 billion to Ukraine. That means each school that's public in America can have $404.4 thousand to spend on school security. That's this year.
Yeah.
Do you think that could be 4 people per school?
Hey, by the way,
8 people per school?
What were those $40 billion spent on?
Protecting Ukrainians and not at home.
And not only that, guns for the Ukrainians.
Crazy.
It's weird. You
need help. Please send guns. Yes. Here's $40 billion. Here we say, hey, schools need help. Please send guns. If it saves one life. That's our point.
Well, basically, Ukraine is saying, help bad guys with guns. What do? You say, okay, well, we'll get you more guns to fight them. But in the United States, it can't possibly be the answer. And I think last night, this is something that just crystallized for me. It's not even just that they're wrong. Every single time that they come out with their common sense gun reform, one, they don't even list what that is. Two, they always pivot to kind of background checks, and that's about the only thing. Then they make stupid claims about ghost guns or assault weapons or whatever it may be, but they don't list specifics. We have specifics that will work.
Yeah.
Every single time. The low-hanging fruit that you talked about. I'm tired of your virtue signaling. Do not give an inch on this, conservatives. This is not the way to do it. Legislation will never get people to stop being evil. You're never going to get all guns out of America, so why don't you just let people protect themselves? Why don't you make sure schools are safe? Why don't you get rid of gun-free zones and soft targets? I want a shooter, if he ever walks into a church or a school, to have his head on a swivel, not knowing when it's going to get blown off by somebody coming out of a classroom, not walking around willy-nilly for half an hour.
Yeah. Keep in mind, this whole shooting
should never happen.
Took place in one classroom.
One.
That's like shooting fish in a barrel. You go, all right, contain them in the... They saw the signs, gun-free zone. I even get to hang out for half an hour and have lunch because no one can do anything. It's like they act as though they're the only ones who are mad. They act as though they're the only ones who care.
No.
You have things that we can do right now. Look, let's distill it.
If they cared, it wouldn't have happened.
I know.
If their ideas worked, it wouldn't have happened.
Right.
The fact that he's sitting there saying somebody has to do something. You're the president.
Yeah.
Good bleep.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's you.
Former vice president.
Sorry, admonish me. You're the former vice president.
Yes, respect the office.
Yeah. I know, it's my
Even
fault.
if you disagree with the man, we all agree you respect the office.
Bless him.
Yes.
Sharp as a tack.
Yes.
On Satan's ass.
Satan can sit on it. Yeah, this is one of those issues where, let's distill it. Okay, a woman's being raped. There's a man who's a rapist. Okay. The rape is already happening. We have to assume that there are going to be rapists as long as humans are alive. As long as animals are alive, by the way. PETA doesn't like to tell you about that. Now,
ducks.
There are rapists.
Really like them.
Yeah, with their corkscrew penises. So,
Howard.
Rapists exist. Now, we can put everything in place that we want to try and prevent a rape, but a rape is going. Let's assume that there will be a rape happening. Okay, at some point. What does that woman do? She have a sign? Call the cops? You and I both know that woman's only chance is having a firearm. So if you create a law that strips her of the right to have a firearm, you are relegating her to being raped with no defense. It's the same thing if you decide no one in school should be allowed to have the only defensive tool that would be able to stop an attack. Okay, so what do you propose? Well, there are all these other laws that really wouldn't do much. And then, of course, you call the cops afterwards with the tool that would be needed to stop the attack. Preventatively is just, it's crazy talk. If it saves one life, well, guess what? We already went through it. Saves 1.6 last year, 1.6 million, sometimes 3 million. If it saves, what about you if it saves one life? If it saves one life, the numbers show that you will kill more people. We're just as mad. Here's another claim that is very common that you've heard before. It's sort of, you can predict this, which claims are going to be recycled because they don't work, and then they rehash another one. And this is that, like you mentioned, ghost guns, non-existent terms, that assault weapons, which means nothing, are to blame.
When we passed the assault weapons ban, mass shootings went down.
Nope.
Wrong. When the law expired, mass shootings tripled.
Nope.
The idea that an 18-year-old kid can walk into a gun store and buy 2 assault weapons is just wrong.
You mean rifles?
What in God's name do you need an assault weapon for except to kill someone?
Hey, okay, good. Look, first off, show me where the tripling comes from. Second, what's an assault weapon?
Any weapon, if you want to use it for assault, I suppose.
I would suppose, but for him, it's like, well, no, it's if it has a grip like this. But it's okay. But if it has
Matte finish.
Matte finish.
Oh man, that's so dangerous.
I know. Yeah, it's in your rapist defense kit, but that has a matte finish. We only allow the blued finish.
Yeah. Meanwhile, when he was a kid, he could walk in any store and get liquor, 8 guns that he wanted.
Yeah.
8 packs of cigarettes.
And then he just shot his gun on his front porch into the air.
Yes, go out with your shotgun and shoot it up in the air.
Any minority he wanted.
Yeah. Well, he didn't want any of them in his town.
No.
Back then. I was a tough kid from Scranton.
Yeah.
No.
Here's me saying the N-word a whole bunch. Yet nobody holds me accountable.
Right. So right there he makes a claim about the assault weapons ban. Okay. Not true. Gun violence was already on a downward trajectory before the ban in 1994. And then when it was rescinded in the early 2000s, it continued to fall. It was 2004.
Yeah, and it was very steady. Actually, if you look really closely at the data, Barack Obama was pushing that, oh, hey, we used to have this ban on assault weapons, and it was fantastic. It lowered all the gun crime. No, it actually went up during that specific period of time after the ban was in place, and it has settled out since.
And that's why they try to hide behind terms like mass shooting specifically as opposed to homicide or gun crime, because the term isn't necessarily defined consistently. Some places define it as 4 deaths or more. That used to be what was used.
Right.
Back when I used to talk about this in 2015, now some of them say 3 people injured or more. But then they would be covering all of the gang crime that takes place every single weekend. Those would be mass shootings. So it really depends on what's most convenient. What you need to look for, what is a constant, is violent crime, homicide, and then if you want to look at gun crime because you believe that you would stop all the rest of homicides and violent crime without a gun. But if you want to say not only violent crime, not only homicide, not only gun crime, but specifically mass shootings, which are such a small subset of the problem, then just admit that you don't want to solve the problem. You are losing the argument, and so you're trying to score some political points. By the way, let's be really clear again, 94% of shootings in gun-free zones. That's a pretty high correlation. Doesn't necessarily equate to causation. They believe that causation is the assault weapon, even though 59% of these crimes are attributed to handguns when you're taking into account homicides with firearms. Less than 3% with rifles of any kind.
Yeah.
So 94% gun-free zones? Hey, I think that might be a problem. You monster. We need to solve the problem of the 3%. not even 3%, because that's all rifles. I don't know what percentage of them are AR-15s.
Yeah.
And you say that we're the ones who don't care?
And I love how the media is focusing on the rifles right now and not the handgun that he had.
Right.
Illegally.
Right. I don't know if he had the handgun illegally.
You can't buy a handgun at his age.
I think they changed that in Texas. You used to be able to not buy
I just looked it up before the show. I'm not 100% sure if I'm 100% right. But
well, because those girls that they wanted to purchase actually a Walther, and they couldn't because they weren't 21. I thought they had reduced the age to 18, but it could just be the rifles. Can someone let us know?
Yeah.
You're probably right.
I was looking at the code just a little bit before we came on air just to make sure, because he did buy the rifles legally because former Vice President Joe Biden said that he bought the rifles legally, and I was like, you sure? But then it's the handguns that you can't until you're 21.
It used to be 21. If it's still 21.
Is that more of the concealed idea as well? That they lowered it, or is there a specific?
I think that has more to do with the history of hunting, where people would hunt pretty young, kids
you don't
would
really hunt
younger.
with a handgun.
No, you don't. Well, you can.
I mean, you can, but
it depends on what you're
maybe
hunting.
pigs or something like that, but yeah.
Well, it depends, too, if that deer cut me off in traffic.
Right.
Then I'm going after it with whatever I have.
Yeah, anything.
If you're two gangsters running after a Russian spy in the woods.
Yeah.
Fang?
By the way, also they talk about assault weapons, high-capacity magazines, which is the silliest thing because, again, it's just arbitrary. Hey, what number is too many for rounds? 10.
Why?
Why? 10's the number here. Do you have crime stats that show us that guns with more than 10? 10! The number's 10! So we can look at states that have high magazine bans. New York, California, D.C., New Jersey, Colorado. Mass shootings have still occurred in those places.
Colorado?
I can't remember.
I don't remember if that started there.
So the recent ones, let's just look at the recent ones. Buffalo, New York, Brooklyn subway terrorists, the church in California, D.C. sniper shooting, Brigham, New Jersey, Boulder, Colorado. So the point is these places are not immune to people using firearms. And again, we're looking at the number, 94% of these mass shootings occur in gun-free zones. They save far more lives than they take. Less than 3% of homicides with firearms are being committed with long rifles, let alone long rifles with high-capacity magazines. And they're saying this is a solution to the problem. This is where we can find common ground. It is not honest. I get that you're pissed. Gerald's obviously very pissed. So's Dave. So am I. Yep. I'm trying to button it up here because I know that I can fly off the handle. I'm really mad. I've got two young babies at home. Yeah. Believe me, I think about this. They will never be in a public school.
Yeah.
Because they're evil factories. And I'm not even just talking about firearms. I don't want my child to go to school and be told by a teacher that they should affirm whatever gender they feel like because they happen to be trying to look up the Barbie skirt and they believe that my son is now a woman. So that's an aside. That's why I say I'm trying to button it up.
Well, that they have no worth. That's a fun thing to teach kids.
Yes, exactly. If you're
and
white male.
Why are they mentally ill? I don't understand.
So
we told them they have no meaning or purpose.
Right. Yeah.
So strange.
Because of their skin color.
Yeah, the skin color, which they can't control.
We've been dividing them by color and making them hate each other. I don't know what's going on.
And then also, ironically telling them that actual division is racist.
Yeah, weird.
So, no, that's that racist long division.
Yeah. I thought it always
political division. Here's another thing. So you look at the states in the United States, then you look at other countries. There are plenty of countries in Europe that have bans on firearms, that have bans on specific firearms. They still experience mass casualty events.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, we bring this overlay here. It's just collage. I mean, just in case you need your memory refreshed. They have mass stabbings. They have people being run over with trucks. They still have mass shootings, by the way, in these countries.
Yeah.
So even assuming that what they're saying is correct and that criminals would obey the laws, it doesn't work. And then, of course, there's the very significant underlying factor that criminals don't.
Well, you have the evidence. It's not like we need to do a case study on this. We have places that we can look that have very tight gun laws, and we can see what happens. California, New York being among them, but let's just go to Chicago.
I don't want to.
No. Chicago.
This is real life.
You'll never come back.
It's no Family Matters.
No,
4 people shot in Chicago's a slow weekend. Do the
Leroy
math on it.
Brown
I'm not
even
even
left.
kidding.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Like, you can look in these places that say, here's how to fix the problem. Let's do everything that we can to fix it from what we know. Background check, all this stuff. Fine. You've done it. Didn't work.
Yep.
Next, let's go to something that works.
Right.
Please. No virtue signaling. I don't care if you're going to get down on your hands and knees and not actually get down on your hands and knees and act like you care. Do something that will solve the problem.
Yeah.
Don't give women who are in danger of being raped a card. This isn't like the Joker where it's like, rape is wrong.
Yeah, or tell them to pee and vomit on themselves like that NYU or Columbia professor. You know, to really turn off the PCP'd out rapist.
Yeah.
I don't really think so.
Not so much. He's like,
especially if he's in a fraternity.
Yeah, usually they're pretty set in their ways. At that moment. But hey,
unbelievable.
Good on you.
A little bit of throw up, I don't think is going to stop a rapist. They actually taught women that, and they act like we're the absurd ones. Just vomit and piss on command, and that'll stop the rape. Okay. Now,
isn't that DePaulo? He did how do you note this? How?
Oh yeah, Nick DePaulo, sir, and Nick DePaulo goes. Not to mention, how are you gonna crap and piss on demand? You just jogging, you just stocking up on eating bad pork and iced tea before you go running in Central Park. Hey, bitch, take off your pants. Thank God for those Amtrak clams. That's why he's one of the best comedians ever. I think the Applebee's chicken parm is coming.
You sure you want to keep doing this?
Oh my gosh, it's one of my favorite bits
I can't even imagine that actually stopping a rapist going, well, this is too far. What did you think? She was going to have fun?
Yeah.
She was probably going to puke anyway.
If she's not into it, it really ruins the rape for me.
Yeah, I just,
moron.
I want her to love me.
Yeah. It's actually probably a better way to stop the rape.
Yeah.
Just tell him you love him. I don't know about this commitment.
This is a commitment.
Yeah.
Now,
I'm having a very good time. Can we do this again?
Yeah. Ask for cab fare.
Yeah.
Now, let's go to another claim that's going to take a little bit of time here. This is another claim. This is the fifth claim. And this is one that's being recycled, but they try and reframe it. And the idea here is, and you can see this all over Twitter, that the Second Amendment doesn't protect assault weapons, which, by the way, is an undefinable term. Right. It's fluid, like that penis between your legs.
If it looks scary, that's what they pretty much mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. What they try and often argue, and then I want to get to what the actual Second Amendment means, but they say, you know what? If the Second Amendment, if they knew that people would have these high-capacity guns and be going, they would have not allowed Okay, first off, on a pragmatic level, that's not true. There were plenty of guns that weren't just muskets. There was a Girandoni air rifle. There was a pepper box revolver. There was a puckle gun. There was the belt and flintlock. These were things that existed. The reason they just weren't in large circulations because they were too expensive. Our founding fathers were aware of that. Not only were they aware of that, but they were also aware of and gave their stamp of approval on cannons.
Artillery was approved.
Artillery was approved. Like a subprime loan.
What? We want cannons? Why, yes.
No trouble.
Unbelievable.
So James Madison, that's right. This is overlay N. He wrote a letter of marque explaining to this is overlay N there, Kevin. I know Tokunawa's not here, so overlay N. I'm not going in order. They were asking, it was a private ship that said, we have to deal with trouble on the high seas.
Yeah.
We just want to know, that's that whole Second Amendment that you did? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Does it apply to cannons? And Madison was like, yeah, it applies to cannons. Why do you think we wrote it?
Why not?
So what's the equivalent to a cannon today? It's at least a rocket launcher. This is a very lazy argument. They want you to believe that it was just about muskets. That's not true. There were other firearms, and there was artillery, and it was expressly approved by the people who wrote the Second Amendment. It's a lazy argument. References available at louderwithcrowder.com. Now, they also try and say, well, the Second Amendment, here's the problem, because they want to do away with the Second Amendment. And so they say, well, the Second Amendment is just for the militia. Right? What part? You're not in the militia. This is an argument that they use. Again, it's a really lazy argument. Yeah. Let me read you the Second Amendment for people who haven't read it. It's a short read. I recommend it. It says a well-regulated militia, comma, being necessary to the security of a free state, comma, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So it doesn't say the right of the militia to keep and bear arms. It says a well-regulated militia, meaning the country needs a militia. Then there are two commas between that and then the right of the people to keep and bear arms. Why is it written that way? It's very clear. Well, let's look to the supporting documents. George Mason once said, I ask, sir, what is the militia? It is the whole people, except for a few public officials, which I love that he decided to highlight that. So what is a militia? The militia is you. And that doesn't mean that you have to join a militia in the woods. What it means is you have a country, very, very different from other countries, too. That's why I like to compare within states, because we shouldn't compare us to Canada.
No.
Why? Because they suck. Also, they bent over for the royalty. They still have the queen on their money.
Yeah.
We fought a bloody war for our freedom. Some other historical context, just so you know. If George Washington was the kind of shitty politician like Senator Murphy, right, who just wanted to, I don't know, as Steve Kerr might say, maintain his grip of power. Keep in mind, George Washington is one of the only few people throughout history who was one of, if not the most powerful man in the New World, in the whole world, but certainly the New World. People were begging for him to stay, and he left. And he said, because I'm not immune to power corrupting. That's a big deal. Not many people do that. He also fought other militias. A lot of people don't realize this. You think there's the War of Independence, and then you think there's a Civil War. No, there were wars being fought here in the United States because there were some people who, I know as crazy as this may sound, wanted to be loyal to the crown.
Yeah.
There were all kinds of factions. George Washington had to fight them. The easiest thing he could have done would have been stripped them of the right to own firearms. Oh my gosh, I'm running into these militias who disagree with us. But he understood it was so important that he still affirmed it repeatedly, because he understood that that is what was necessary to keep the kind of government that they just fled in check. And he also recognized that he could be that kind of a government, that he could be that kind of, and at that point, really, government. We didn't have exactly what we have right now. This man was powerful. This man could have been a king, and he recognized, ooh, that's bad. One of the fail-safes here is the people to have guns. They need to be their own militia.
Yeah, this is the only way you secure freedom. What is it saying there? Being necessary to secure, or for the security of a free state?
Yep.
Right? Free security. See those things tied together? The only way free stays is if you have security. And the only way you get security is if you have the right to keep and bear arms.
Yeah.
It's very, very clear. Look at countries throughout history. We don't have to go to Germany. We can go to Australia. Last year, they're building camps. They did mandatory buybacks of firearms forever, right? How do you defend yourself against a tyrannical government? How do you defend yourself against a tyrannical individual in your community if you have no right to keep and bear arms? But that person can go out and get whatever they want. Right? They're not going to obey the laws anyway. And if you're like, oh, if the entire United States just had the law, fine, fantastic. How close was this to the border? How many guns are coming over that border illegally right now? You telling me you couldn't get one if you really wanted one? The argument doesn't really hold up.
These are the same people who require you to get a negative COVID test or quarantine if you're coming back into your own country for, I think it's 10 days, but you have hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants who just right on through, sir.
Yes, right here. Please go this way.
Well,
make sure you come back from your court date in 7 years.
I like your gun.
Yes.
I like the cut of that AR-15.
I like the ivory grips and the god-awful, gaudy flames etched into it.
I like the blood on the machete.
Yes.
You must be, what do they call it? Cartel? Am I pronouncing that right? I don't want to offend.
Yes.
Have you seen our wonderful EVT cards? We have a fantastic selection.
Yeah. Yes, please take one. Take two.
Yes.
We don't care.
We've been playing around with screen prints. Look, this EVT card has Dora the Explorer. Are you familiar? Probably not. But you know what? Take that. That's for you.
Yeah. So let's just let's just tie a bow on this. So Second Amendment makes sure that the other rights exist.
Yeah, right? Scale back even Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah,
scale back that they need guns. We're literally let's put a finer point on this. Your money, billions, 40 billion was just the last round. I can't even keep a tally of the total amount of billions that have gone to Ukraine. Billions of your dollars are right now going to paying for guns for people in the Ukraine so they can be a well-regulated militia, which you were insured as your own right at the founding of this country, and they want to strip from you. Your money is going to Ukraine to pay for their guns. Well, they want to take yours. Does that drive it home? You don't even need to look through history. You look at it now and then let's scale it back. Okay, not Ukraine, not just China, not people being run over with tanks. Not genocide being committed. Think a few Uyghurs would like to have a couple of AR-15s. Yep. Don't want to speak for them. But, scale it back, speech laws. You can be arrested in Australia, in Canada, in the UK for speech. I'm not saying that all free speech here is defended with firearms, but it's certainly in the back of people's minds. It's certainly in the back of, if you have corrupt police officers' minds who would want to go door to door arresting you for things that you say, which, by the way, has happened throughout human history and still happens today. Hey, remember this? This is the problem with the affront that the left, they just think that they win by being offended. Remember yesterday?
Yes, that's a good point.
Remember yesterday when I said there are more slaves than ever in recorded history right now, 40 million today?
Yeah.
And I said, now the problem is, the reason we can't talk about it is because these slaves primarily exist in, three places, right? Africa, Asia, the Middle East.
Yeah.
Said, now, it's really hard to bitch about white privilege when you actually acknowledge the slavery that is currently taking place in these. Can I say shithole countries about the countries that employ slavery? And I said, I bet you liberals are going to be more offended that I referred to these countries that enslave people as shitholes than they will be at the enslavement. Guess what Media Matters had?
Oh, I wonder.
Stephen goes on offensive rant about shithole countries. Yeah, you know what? Hold on a second. I know you're expecting me to apologize. I think if your country still practices slavery, you're a shithole.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, also, if you think one sentence is a rant, you too are a shithole.
Yes. Oh, I thought you were saying U2 is a shithole, because that is.
And if you are the band U2.
Yes,
that is
exactly.
uncalled
Both could
for.
be true.
Yeah, that's
Still
true.
haven't
You can
found
have
it.
two shitholes in one shithole.
Yep.
He's saving time.
It's a twofer.
Explaining both.
So these are the myths that you have out there, right?
Can we
Assault
go to this really quickly?
Oh
on
my
CNN?
God. Okay, what's going on? Are they
CNN
trying to
right
bait
now?
Marco Rubio? Let's see.
No. See, here's the deal. Senate Dems move to clear way for votes on background checks.
All right, let me see what they're doing right now.
All these mass shootings that have been purchased at a gun show or on the internet. So if people want to do that, we can have that debate, but don't link it to these horrible events because they would have nothing to do with it.
What about getting rid of AR-15s? Why are these semi-automatic rifles necessary?
No, if people want to talk about banning specific guns, they
See
should
that pivot?
propose that, but it wouldn't prevent these shootings.
Again.
Well, let's see what he says here. Objectively,
Instead,
he's
Rubio
objective.
says he plans to push forward separate legislation to deal with improving school safety. It's unclear whether or not that will get Democratic support. The Democratic leader in the Senate, Chuck Schumer, has promised to move forward on these House-passed bills that would expand background checks on commercial sales and private transfers. He has been saying that they would move forward on this for the past year. They plan to move. They're signaling they plan to move very quickly on this, but even if they were to do so, getting the support of 50, let alone 60 senators, is impossible. Okay.
Manu, thank you. Joining me right now
Unbelievable.
for more on this is Democratic Congressman Colin Allred.
All right, let's see what he says. Let's see. We went through the myths, right? The assault weapons, the idea of the Second Amendment, the idea of what was the first one? There's the gun lobby.
Yeah.
We went through. So we went through all the myths, right? Let's see if he actually uses in real time. Let's see if he tries to perpetuate these false
Thanks for
claims.
having me on, Kate. As I'm sure you did, my wife and I hugged our two boys a little bit closer last night.
Everybody
As parents
did.
across the country, I think, imagined how they would feel.
Oh, we also
this
keep to
happened
admit
at
that
their
we're the only
child's
country
school.
that does this. Let's see if he uses
As a
it.
parent, this is your worst nightmare.
Of course.
Getting a call that your precious baby who you sent off to school has been murdered. And as a Texan, I'm heartbroken. But as a lawmaker, I feel like it's incumbent upon me and my colleagues to not just grieve, but to act, to do something.
Secure the schools.
Marco Rubio is wrong with what he just said, that there's nothing we can do. I refuse to accept that there's nothing I can do to protect my kids and their schools.
He didn't say that.
or
He never said there's
worshipers in
nothing we
their
can do.
places of worship,
He said
or
those
shoppers
things
when
wouldn't.
they're going
What
to the
you are
grocery
suggesting
store.
wouldn't
We don't
have
to live like
stopped
this.
the shooting.
Truth is, we're the only major country, developed country.
Oh, ding, ding, ding. Hey, that was claim number one, that we're the only country. There you go. Hit a bell. Let's
For
listen to it
sure.
again.
I want to read for you what Will
Reference
Hurd
is
said
available at
after
loudscatter.com.
these
I've
murders.
already
Hurd,
addressed
of
it. We're
course,
not.
Is the former Republican.
We're 83rd when it comes to gun crime, homicide. We're not even the top country in the new world, in the first world, in the non-shithole world as far as mass shootings. That's false. It's so predictable, guys. That's the value in doing this live, right? A lot of other conservatives are afraid to go live this way because they're afraid they'll get removed from YouTube. I don't care. You guys go over to Rumble, go over to Mug Club. You get to see live in real time. It's the difference between, Fox News and a lot of AM radio. It's kung fu. It's, oh man, I got Tiger Fist and I got Monkey Claw and stuff that I would do, but they never actually get in a fight. In real time, that's why we have CNN right now. Let's see what else he hits. I guarantee you, if we sit and watch CNN for 30 minutes, every single claim that we have just rebutted will come up. But let's just see this B-League.
One came up,
Cory
we
Booker.
watched it for 9 seconds.
Yeah.
There is a chance of changing the views now of elected Texas Republicans.
I want to thank Will Hurd for that statement. I think it takes bravery for him to put that out. But from what I've seen from our statewide elected Republicans just in the hours after the shooting yesterday, I don't see a lot of willingness to act. And the truth is we have to have a small d democratic response to this. If folks are not willing to put in place policies that will keep our communities safe, then they shouldn't be in positions of leadership and they shouldn't be creating these laws. We have an 18-year-old here who could not buy a beer, who can walk into a gun store and buy 2 assault rifles and hundreds of rounds of ammunition. The shooter in Sandy Hook was 20 years old.
He had a
maybe we
handgun.
can
Why
at
aren't you
least
talking about the
agree
handgun that he
we
had?
should raise the age.
Also, by the way,
these weapons.
bought them through a background check. Talk about that.
All of these
Solutions
that we're talking
this
about.
guy.
none of
This
them
guy.
I was
would
gonna say,
stop
wasn't
every
it like
single
in his
shooting.
mom's
And
safe?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it was his parents' gun.
Yeah.
That it wouldn't stop every single one. But if we can save any lives,
Oh,
if we can do anything,
there we go. If it would save any lives,
doing that.
1.6 million last year. An average of 2.5 million defensive uses of firearms. Now, we don't know if those all say every single time a life is saved. Let's call it 1 million to 14 or 16,000 gun homicides, the vast majority of which are gang-on-gang violence. If it saves one life, how about 1.6 million?
How about securing the schools? Because that's something. Hey, how about
I'm just talking about the numbers, though. How about 1.6 million lives, you piece of shit?
I just love how they play it as they're trying to protect the guns and not the kids. No, we're trying to protect the kids with guns.
Yeah.
Because that's how you do it.
Let's see what
the
other
only
myths.
thing you can do. You can't pretend that they don't exist.
Right, and you can't pretend that evil doesn't exist. But then again, these are the people who are perpetuating evil, like chopping off a 6-year-old's penis. Let's see what else he says.
With on, for example, veterans issues here, in my area, who I'm, thinking of right now, who may be, candidates to talk to about, where can we begin to break this ice? Now, of course, the House has passed legislation, and I'm a member of the House, and so what we're talking about ultimately is also what can get through the Senate and what can get 60 votes in the Senate. But maybe if we can get enough support for action in the House, that would pressure 10 Republican senators to join us in doing the right thing. But what was said earlier, I think in the earlier segment, about how our inability to act on this is a reflection of how broken our politics is absolutely true. If we can't protect
That's
kids
predicated on the
in
idea
then I don't
that
know.
your action doesn't suck.
Yeah.
Is there ever any accountability? The fact that Republicans, and by the way, a good portion of Democrats, don't want to support our bills, which would do nothing, is proof that you shouldn't trust your institutions, and then we'll blame you for not trusting your institutions.
Yes. Our politics are broken, specifically ours.
Yes.
Yeah, because we
were totally legally brought in.
Now, let me tell you about how we need background checks, as I tell you about how this man bought 2 firearms while going through a background check.
Jane,
what's the proposed legislation? What's the proposed legislation? More background checks.
I'm being told by the CNN producer I should not have shot this in my toxic masculinity room with a football helmet.
Yes. I'm also being told that I am not allowed to do my live read for Aquavelva.
Yes.
There's nothing about an
you see what they're doing there?
Aquavelva, man.
They're saying the H.R. 8, right? Oh, Democrats in Congress, we've been trying to act for 2 years. It's those Senate Republicans up there that don't want your kids protected. And Marco Rubio has just a moment where he says, well, yeah, these things aren't linked together. What I think we should do is maybe start securing our schools. And I'm going to put forward legislation. Well, but what about those AR-15s? You totally skipped over the solution.
No, it's worse than that.
There.
It's worse than that. He said, what about, why does anyone need an AR-15, those semi-automatic rifles? Oh, and now you shoehorn in semi-automatic.
Yeah.
Guess what? Semi-automatic. Guess what? All handguns, semi-automatic. Revolvers, effectively semi-automatic, though they're not by mechanism, but really it's pull. Semi-automatic, one trigger pull. And I have to say that because, hey, look, gun guys and gun chicks, you could also shut up, okay? He'll say, well, a revolver is technically not a semi-automatic. I know, but when we're talking about it, it means one trigger pull, one shot. Fully automatic machine gun. The problem is then you have gun people who come in who then want to let everyone know what they don't know about firearms. We shouldn't be arguing about that bullshit. I understand what a semi-automatic is versus a revolver. I'm saying for all intents and purposes, when describing it to people, people need to know what would be on the chopping block. They're trying to make it seem like an AR-15 is a Gatling gun on top of a horse carriage. This is all firearms outside of pump and lever actions. Pump shotguns, lever actions, maybe bolt actions. Any gun that you have that is one trigger pull and that fires around, a bullet leaves that barrel, that's a semi-automatic. So he shoehorns that in there.
Yeah.
It's, what about HR? What about background checks? And then also AR-15s because semi-automatic. And now you've managed to be effective in associating in the American people's mind that, wait, AR-15s are crazy and it's semi-automatic. And so, okay, yeah, I guess I would support banning semi-automatics. That's just those AR-15s when it's really every single handgun that exists in your house.
Unbelievable.
It's totally believable. This is exactly what they do every single time.
I know it's what they do every single time, but their policies... Why don't you at least say, okay, let's secure the schools as well? Like, I get that you have you got a big hard-on for background checks. I understand that. Fine. Why don't you say, okay, let's do both. Let's do every single possible thing that we can. It's because you want power. It's because you want to be right and you want the Republicans to be wrong. Well, guess what? Their solution works. Yours doesn't. We're just going to live in this hell until you realize that or we vote your ass out of office, which hopefully will happen soon this year.
Yeah,
you know going to bullet frequency. It's insane. It's a bullet in a gun. It doesn't. It can be used as evil. It's all it comes down to.
Well,
it doesn't. I mean, take that argument out of it.
Well, they don't want to take it out of it. That's the problem.
If you're in a room of sitting ducks of children, it doesn't matter. You have the control.
Right.
The only way the control can be taken away, which was proven again yesterday, is by protecting the children.
Yeah.
Why? We're just letting our kids, like, if you want to talk about the All Lives Matter stuff, it does matter with children. That's it.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that actually have a chance in this life.
Right.
And we've taken that away.
Well,
I'm so tired of this bullshit. Sorry, it's
you have a chance too. I mean, they're not the only ones who have a chance. We all have a chance.
We all have a chance, but I mean, kids, I just think should be the most protected part of our society. And we're going, hey, let's give that young man fake tits and don't make sure he's not protected.
Yes. Wait, do you mean sexually or with a firearm? Both.
Both.
Whatever.
We just don't want to judge.
Yeah.
You just mentioned something, and you know what? I want to leave on this, and then we actually have to go to. Hey, by the way, did the control room get us? Is it 21 for a handgun in Texas? Did they do their job and get that to us?
Still looking now.
Yeah. But guys, is it 21 or is it 18 in Texas? That should be. It used to be 21 when we shot that video. I didn't know if they changed. I know rifles are 18. That's like a 30-second quick search if you guys can grab it. I'm pretty sure Gerald is right.
Yeah.
I think it is too, yeah.
It's still 21 for a handgun. But you just talked about holding on to power. And this is what Steve Kerr said about Republicans, right? They say, oh, you want to hold on to... Let me ask you something. Let's just think about... Let's pull back a little bit. Okay. Power for politicians. All right. Power for people who are in office. Power for anyone who's in a position of authority or power, right? The monarchy, whether it's parliament, take your pick. Okay. They're in power. Now, if it's not just some kind of... If we're not just talking about genocide, if we're not talking about power through force, right? You're talking about something that's some kind of a democracy or socialist, but whatever you want to... Okay. What is required for them to be in power? Especially in a country this size. For you to what? Be dependent on them. For them to be powerful, they need you to be dependent on them. They need you to what? It's just like a relationship, an abusive relationship, where they need you to be codependent. If you are self-sufficient, someone has less power. You know this in your life, right? Hey, ever paid off your debt? Does that person have less power over you? You're no longer dependent on them. Ever leave your parents' house? Your parents hold less power over you? Of course, because you're now a self-sufficient man or woman. Now, when we understand that basic principle, and they try and accuse the Republicans or the right or people like me of wanting to assert power, I don't know how I would do that. This is all voluntary, this interaction and transaction here. Sorry, no transaction unless you join Mug Club. We don't make a dime on YouTube. Be fear, right? That's what would be most important here would be fear. If I need you to be dependent, okay, let's create a scenario. Republicans, all right. Hey, we want to close the border from illegal immigrants and also, of course, for guns that are being run through drug cartels. We want you to be able to own firearms, and we want people to be able to carry these firearms in gun-free zones, and that we shouldn't be able to take that from you. Also, we want to lower your taxes and give you more freedom as it relates to your choices. We're going to give you less free stuff, but we want to secure the border, and we want you to have guns. Oh, and by the way, we also believe in at least deporting the illegal immigrants here who are in our prisons. Now, how much power does that person hold over you? If that's the world you live in this country, you have a secure border, you have a firearm. Versus an open border, which we know they tried to end Title 42. We have more border crossings, more illegal immigrants flooding in than ever before. And we want to take away your guns. And by the way, we want to raise your taxes, but we'll give you free, insert whatever it is here, internet, health care. What else do we have? Student loans. What happens if the government forgives your loan? Let me ask you this. So just use the example of a debtor, okay? If you owe the bank money and we forgive your student loan, and by we, I mean the taxpayer, and so the government has now raised taxes, but has decided you no longer owe the bank. To whom are you indebted? You're now just indebted to the government. Do you understand that? Every single policy that comes from the left is about enslaving you economically, or, I mean, really, almost at this point, I would almost say because it's a religion, bordering on theologically. Certainly they want you to be indoctrinated. They don't want you to simply be allowed to express other opinions. And where could I base that? Australia, Canada, UK, France, speech laws. So let's just look at these two separate worlds. Who's trying to get a stranglehold on power? The people who say, we want to secure the border and we want you to have guns, we want to lower taxes and give you more choices. And I know they don't all do that in practice. Or the people who say, no guns, open borders, higher taxes, and you owe it to us. For crying out loud, they want to be like an abusive pimp. And you know what? Pimps generally don't want their prostitutes to have guns on them because that's pimps only business. We're going to go to Mug Club here in a second, which is the only way that we keep the lights on. Please do consider joining at louderscloud.com/Mug Club. We also have wonderful sponsors. You know, when I actually did that range, I had walking pneumonia, bronchial infection, sinus infection, and I think that was when I started using this, the X-Clear nasal spray. Started clearing things out. Every time I go to a gun range, I use it because I get like gunpowder, residue. You ever go to the range and your nails?
Oh, yeah.
Right? You have to wash your hands, and you think about washing your hands, but you're also wash your nose. Right? Clear. It's a nasal spray with xylitol in there. It's doctor recommended. You can get it over the counter or at Amazon. Go to xclear.com. And by the way, there are published clinical studies and trials as it relates to allergies, COVID, and all kinds of other respiratory illnesses. Because you just think about it. You wash your face, you wash your hands, you wash your balls, but you don't even. You have an idea what you're breathing in every day?
Yeah.
You have an idea what I'm breathing in with these animals here in this studio?
I scrub my balls.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you do it on the golf course.
And any drinking fountain I can find that's public.
Well, you know what? Depends on the height.
Yeah,
it's all about the dip effect. What am I doing? A barbershop quartet ball washing?
Yeah.
Wash those balls now, Steve-O.
Wash those balls.
I call them ball days.
Yes. All right. We're going to actually check because we do think, and we love him. We want him to be in a safe place. We think Ginger Snap here in the studio might be gay. We're going to get to the bottom of it. On Mug Club, louderscloud.com/Mug Club. Liberals, you will not get any firearms from this studio. And within reach, there are many guns. Piss off.